For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sanel Dlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
What do you think of the announcement that we had from the recent ANC NGC that it plans now to withdraw from the International Criminal Court?
Yeah, I don't think this is a cut and dried matter where one can say there are no reasons to criticize the ICC. But whether one should be withdrawing when one was one of the key parties in establishing it is another question. When the government got involved in the establishment of the International Criminal Court, it was very well aware that some of the key states, especially America, Israel, and others, were not signing up to the ICC. And even this very week, we have seen America dropping bombs on a hospital of Doctors Without Borders. It's happened before. They've said sorry, but you know, when you repeatedly do this, it is a level of contempt for human beings that you are bombing in places like this where these things can happen. Now, at the time when the ICC was established, the conditions in the world, it was a unipolar world. People knew this. People knew that the United States was, in its own way, a lawless state. It calls other states a rogue state, but it is, in a sense, lawless because it does not subject itself to the norms of international law. Very seldom does it provide compensation. It signed hardly any United Nations treaties. I don't think I can't remember what treaties the United States has signed related to human rights, for example. Now, when South Africa was part of those who initiated, why they signed up, and very many African states, as it happened. In the case of South Africa, it was because we come from a history where we lived under apartheid, which was designated a crime against humanity and international crime. And we dedicated ourselves in our domestic policy and in our foreign policy to pursue the promotion of human rights in the world. Now, it's very difficult to pursue human rights internationally because you can make statements on your own, but once you want to achieve something, you've got to act with other states. You've got to act multilaterally. And that is the reason why very little can be done, for example, about the situation in Zimbabwe, because South Africa is part of SADC, and SADC includes a number of states who need to work together in order to take a more aggressive stance towards human rights violations in Zimbabwe. So I believe that we need to understand that the context in which we understand South Africa's foreign policy in general is one which is conditioned by other states which have various orientations. Nevertheless, I don't think that it was a good thing to withdraw. It sends a very bad signal. It's going to take some years for this to be completed, so let's hope that they change their mind. But in the meantime, to withdraw from an international criminal court dedicated to prosecute crimes against humanity is a very bad signal for a state with the prestige that South Africa once carried. Perhaps it is a symptom of where we are now.
Okay, and now can we say now that the ANC is not correct in pointing to the ICC that it's straying from its mandate, like some people may say that it's now focusing on the African states only?
Well, you know, its facts are wrong. It's really the way in which they have announced this is not really accurate. There have been 8 cases which the International Court has undertaken. Only 2 of these have come from the United Nations Security Council. 4 of those cases relating to Africa have been initiated by African states themselves, 50%. The other 2 cases have been initiated in a very careful process whereby the court takes, before they even start a case, it's a very long and intricate case. What to me is significant is not whether African states have been accused, because they happen to be states that have signed up for the ICC. The question is, are the cases invalid? The ANC NGC has not said that there are not crimes against humanity. It has not said that these prosecutions are not valid legally, and they are a way of using the law to punish democratic states or some such thing. They don't give reasons that are valid. So my feeling is that we need to be asking ourselves, what exactly should we be doing in a situation where a number of states that should actually be part of the ICC are outside its jurisdiction? By withdrawing, what one is doing is saying, I take no responsibility for international law and preventing international crimes. In fact, we will, in South Africa, allow Omar al-Bashir to come here in spite of an arrest warrant being out for him for crimes against humanity. Now, what do the people of Darfur think about this? What do the people who live in the other states where there are prosecutions against leaders and other people for human rights violations, what do they think of the ANC's and the government's stance if the government goes along and withdraws? We've got to understand that when you do something like that, you send a signal. And that signal is one which is, in a sense, a repudiation of obligations that we previously undertook to stand by the weakest in the world in order to protect them from crimes against humanity.
Thank you, Professor. That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Crema Media's Polity about the ANC NGC decision to withdraw from ICC.